Hello, I'm a mother of 3 children in my 40s. When I tell people I have 3 kids, people think I'm blessed with a happy marriage. But trust me, I'm not. We're not having the best days of our lives. I don't need to explain the situation to everyone. So, whenever people tell me how blessed I am with such a great family, I just laugh it out. 3 years ago, a strange and unbelievable things happened to me. Neighbors loved to talk about it, but I could not tell people what really happened. Rather, I had to bear it by myself. I met my husband at Hapkido Place. My husband wanted to learn Hapkido, a hybrid Korean martial art, ever since he was young, and he ended up in my class as a student. Because I was my teacher's only student at that time, I was in charge of training all the students. At first, he didn't like to be taught by a woman, so he didn't participate much in class. I trained him even harder, saying, if he's going to do it, he needs to do it right. He came to the gym for about 3 days, but then he didn't show up for nearly 2 weeks. I thought of him as a person who easily quits. Then a month passed, and he came back to the gym. He said he couldn't come for a while because of his business trip abroad, and he brought me a luxury brand lip balm as a gift. I picked the one that wouldn't stand out so much as you are an athlete. I hope you like it. He was shy. I was surprised by the unexpected gift, but it kind of felt good. People think as I'm an athlete, 174 centimeters tall and quite big, that I wouldn't like pretty and cute things, but actually I do. I'm just an ordinary girl in my 20s, loving pretty and cute things, just like other girls of my age. He was the first one to give me cosmetics as a gift. Maybe that's why I looked at him differently from then on. I paid more attention to the class, and my husband has also worked hard since then. I was teaching self-defense at the time. There were a lot of movements where we held each other's body, and we unintentionally made a lot of physical contacts, which also brought our minds closer. One day, about 3 months later, my husband told me that today was the last day for him to come to the gym, and he asked me to go out for dinner. I didn't take his words seriously. I just got his business card. I felt empty and lost energy for not seeing him who used to be in my class all the time. The usual exercise wasn't fun either. I spent more time fiddling with the lip balm that my husband gave, thinking, should I call him? And eventually I did. I texted him instead of calling him. Hello, I'm the Hapkido master, Jessica. If you stop now, it's such a waste of what you've learned. If you have time, come to the gym to work out. I'll teach you with all my heart. I texted it as if it had been sent from the gym to manage the membership. I was embarrassed to show my interest, but my husband must have noticed what I wanted to do. He sent me a reply like this. If this is really from you, not the gym, I'll be there tomorrow. Honestly, I was embarrassed, but I thought it was a good thing that I went full honest with him. And the next day, we were reunited, and it's been a while since we've seen each other. My husband was coming from work, so he was wearing a clean suit, and that look just made me fall even deeper into him. It was supposed to be a dinner date, but we spent most of our time talking about each other rather than eating. We found out that we like each other. After that day, we started dating. Other people still said I'm like a tomboy, but my husband always told me I'm pretty and cute. I finally felt like I was a woman when I heard all those words. I had a dreamy relationship. Now, I think of it, I think it was the happiest time among all the time I spent with my husband. I fell in love with my husband every day while we were dating. Sadly, he seemed to be the opposite. Whatever I did, he didn't care. Whatever I asked, he didn't respond well. It was a meaningless relationship. I think it was since then that I had been ready to break up with him. But something unexpected happened. Well, he brought up marriage. I was so happy, but I hesitated because I worried my husband might change his mind after marriage. So I wasn't able to answer. I like you, Jessica. You're innocent and not calculating, unlike other girls. So I thought that you're the one. Of course, I'm not saying this because you're just right enough to be married to. And my family wants you to stop working at the gym when we get married. Would that be okay with you? I was touched by his deep and honest proposal. I was so happy to think about his words about quitting my job. Eventually, I decided to quit my job as my parents-in-laws wished. I accepted his proposal and we started preparing for our wedding. Fortunately, our wedding went well without conflict from both families. I also had a baby in no time. I went to see an obstetrician and was hoping that my first child would be a daughter. And the doctor said there are 2 hearts. I was so surprised that I stared at the doctor blankly. And he smiled and said, "They're twins. Congratulations." I was speechless. Twins. It was a bit too much to raise a kid, and I was afraid if I could do it well with the twins. So I told my husband about this, and my husband was happy to tell his parents about it. My husband's a 4th-generation leader, so my in-laws wanted me to have a lot of children. My mother-in-law called me right away when she heard about the twins from my husband. She put pressure on me about the babies' genders. She was hoping for boy twins. It's not like I can get what I want. All I could do was pray. Even if I have twin boys, I was worried if I could handle them right. Did my prayer ruin everything? I went to see the obstetrician for a regular checkup, and he told me that the babies were identical twin girls. My vision got blurry all of a sudden. I was worried about how to face my mother-in-law. "Doctor, is there a chance you don't see it well in ultrasound, or the gender might change?" I was talking nonsense, and the doctor didn't bother to reply. That evening, my mother-in-law knew it was the checkup day at the obstetrics, and she called me and said, "I heard the doctor gives you a hint so that you can know the baby's gender. What did he say? Did he say they're boys? Talk to me." I couldn't open my mouth to say, "That's right. Don't drag on and tell me." "They're girls." What? They're not all girls, are they?" "They're identical twins. They're both girls." As soon as I said it, she sighed like the world was falling apart. Oh my gosh. My mother-in-law was just as I expected. She was very disappointed to hear that I had girls. She said it's not a pregnancy if you have a girl. So she asked me to celebrate her birthday and make kimchi all by myself and hung up on me. It was unfair. To be honest, I'm not the one to decide the gender of the babies. If she wants to blame, she should blame her own son. But at the time, I felt like it was all my fault for having girls. I was foolish. I thought she was just a bit angry, but it wasn't all that. When I was full-term pregnant, she told me to cook a seaweed soup for my sister-in-law's birthday. It was hard because I felt heavy and I didn't know when to go to the hospital to deliver the twins. She was so mean. So I asked my husband to talk her into it. And you know what he said? "You used to exercise. Why are you worried about it? If it's hard to wake up in the morning, I'll set the alarm and wake you up." Come on. Is a person who used to work out different from any other pregnant woman in full-term pregnancy? I just shut my mouth and was disappointed in him. The next day, I went to my in-laws and made seaweed soup for my sister-in-law's birthday. My stomach kept drooping and clumping. My legs were swollen and numb. However, no one was interested in me. My sister-in-law didn't even thank me for the soup. I thought to myself, why did I get married to this family? I'm a precious daughter to my parents. My mother-in-law balked me about having baby boys, but ironically, she was so earnest to give everything to her youngest daughter. Is it because her mother-in-law was so mean to her daughter that she's raising her own daughter so preciously? It was unbelievable. Why do you ask me to cook your precious daughter's birthday soup? You should cook it for herself." That day, I dragged my heavy legs home and immediately fell asleep. And that night, as I was worried, my water broke, and my husband took me to the emergency room. My twin girls came to the world a month earlier than expected. As soon as they were born, they were in an incubator. They put a bunch of equipment on their bodies, and seeing them like that made me deeply resent the in-laws. What was even more upsetting to me was that no one from my in-laws showed up at the hospital when they heard that the babies were born. My parents were upset too, so all the blame went to my husband. I hated my husband because I hated my in-laws, so I blamed my husband. "How come your parents don't come to see their granddaughters when they're born? I told you it's too much for me to handle your sister's birthday party and look after the twins. But you said it's going to be okay because I exercised." "Don't you feel sorry for our kids in the incubator?" "What do you mean by birthday party? They just told you to cook seaweed soup. You're exaggerating with that. And it was an unexpected delivery before sunrise. I told them to come the next day. They have a meeting the next day. What should I do then? If it's so unfair, you should have had the babies when they were free." My husband was talking nonsense, and it was ridiculous. I regret that I got married to this kind of man. What he said next was even worse. "If you have a boy next time, my mom's going to raise him all and would buy you a luxury bag. So you might be disappointed this time, but let's just let it go and do well on the next." Oh my, are you seriously telling me this to cheer me up? A luxury bag? Tell her to give it to a dog. I started putting up a wall against my husband in my mind. After being released from the hospital, I did postpartum care at home with the help of a postpartum helper, and the memorial service was back again. Would you tell your daughter-in-law, who just gave birth, to set up a memorial service? I thought like that and relaxed, but something happened just the day before the memorial service. I had a little bit of feeling, but my mother-in-law thought I was going to prepare for the memorial service. She called me while I was feeding the babies. "You didn't even have a boy, and you're not preparing for the ancestral rites? What a shame on you. You have to show your sincerity to your ancestors to have a boy next time. Get over here and get ready." I was furious when I heard my mother-in-law nagging like a storm. "Your daughter-in-law has not passed 37 days since giving birth. Besides, are the ancestors the birth goddess? Does she choose the gender of the baby? It didn't even make sense. So I didn't go to my in-laws' house that day. My husband did a memorial service himself, but his face turned red. He looked so angry. He got annoyed with the babies and me. So we had gotten into the biggest fight since our marriage. At that time, my in-laws didn't contact me as well because they were disgusted with me. I felt a bit uneasy, but honestly, I was comfortable. Of course, it was hard to look after the twins though. That's how my baby's 100th day of birth had passed, and now it was close to their first birthday. Of course, I was preparing for the first birthday party. Around that time, my mother-in-law contacted me again and asked me to do some errands. She said girls are not supposed to have their first birthday party. She turned my stomach upside down. No matter how much you're disappointed in not having a grandson, they are my children and are also your precious granddaughters. If they knew this, they would be so sad. Why would they be upset when they are not even a boy? Jane didn't have her first birthday party either because her grandmother said so, despite the fact she was nice to her grandmother, you know? It was impossible to have a conversation with her. Since then, I have firmly resolved to give birth to a baby boy, thinking, I will pay you back for what you've done to me so far. Finally, we celebrated our daughter's first birthday at my parents' house. My husband joined late and just had dinner. When my mother said that the in-laws' family had gone a little too far, he frowned as if he didn't want to hear about it. On that day, we had another fight. He blamed me for everything. I thought you were kind and gentle. That's why I got married to you. Are you a fighter? Why are you still like a stubborn athlete? He was angry that he had been tricked, and I was so overwhelmed that I didn't want to talk. My mother told me that everyone else lives like that, so just think of the kids and be patient. That's why I just accepted him as he is. At that time, my husband was getting promoted fast, being recognized for his ability at work. I thought the conflict between my in-laws and me would disappear once I had a son, but it wasn't that easy. We didn't get along well, but we made out on and off, so I got pregnant with my third child. But it was a girl again, and I was in a worse situation. Even now, I'm sorry for my youngest daughter. I also was disappointed because she wasn't a boy. I was like my mother-in-law, who discriminated against my child by gender. After that, I got the title of a daughter-in-law who can't give birth to a boy. My husband also stayed away from me. We were a man and wife in name. But what's interesting is that I felt more comfortable back then. Maybe because we didn't expect anything from each other. We didn't have to fight or put ourselves in each other's shoes. So it was good to live. People say that humans are the most adaptive species. I just decided to accept everything and that was my fate. Thinking that way made me feel more comfortable. I'm sure I had no time to think about other things because I had to raise 3 kids. But the peace like a calm lake didn't last long. When I told that it was so hard for me to look after 3 kids by myself and that I was going to send them to daycare, the problem started to arise. You made excuses not to work, and now you're sending the kids to a daycare center? And you're going to be free? You're shameless too. My husband was screaming. I was speechless because I was shocked. What do you mean by free when I'm raising 3 kids? When the twins turned 3 years old, the youngest just turned 1. Does it make sense that I'm gonna be free when raising 3 kids in similar ages? People say that they are having a hard time raising a single child with their husband's help, but I'm looking after 3 kids by myself. My husband hasn't changed their diapers once. That day, what he said to me was heartbreaking, and not much emotion was left for him. Of course, my mother-in-law didn't know how I feel. She came to see me to discuss my father-in-law's upcoming birthday meal. She looked at me and said, "It's been quiet lately. Why are you so upset this time? You don't want to make your father-in-law's birthday meal? If so, don't do it." My mother-in-law got angry and slammed the front door. She closed it and left. I just wanted to ignore that, but I had no choice but to prepare a huge birthday party. My father-in-law seemed to be in a good mood the whole time. My mother-in-law helped me wash the dishes and said, "Good job for the first time." Even though I didn't have good emotions toward her, getting a compliment made me feel better. Since then, my husband's been more friendly to me than ever. He recycled, put the garbage out, and did errands, which he never did since we got married. I thought, what's wrong with him? But then, he was working hard to fix things, so I decided to forgive him. But I was too naive. Later on, I found out that it was my mistake. At that time, I sent my 3 daughters to a daycare center in an apartment complex. I was working as a cashier at a local market. I didn't want my husband and mother-in-law to treat me like a woman who doesn't do anything. I've been at home all years raising kids, but since I came out to work with other people, I regretted why I didn't start working earlier. Every day I got cheerful and changed. I got new information from my daughter's friend's mother. I got some side dishes from the ladies I worked with at the grocery store. And now I feel like I'm alive just like others. However, at some point, I felt that people were acting weird when they saw me. At first, I was worried whether I have made a mistake. But when I went to pick up the kids at the daycare center, I heard other moms saying, Are you sure he's her husband? Aren't you confused with someone else? No, I was at her house to borrow a kimchi container and saw her husband's face. And not too long ago, he was hanging out with a young woman who moved next door to my house. Then what is it? Did he set up with a young woman in the same apartment? What else could it be? The security guard thought they were a newlywed couple. When I heard this, my legs were shaking. Of course, I'm not sure about my husband's affair yet, but I don't think the woman spread the rumor because she had any bad feelings for me. I followed my husband out that night, who took the trash as usual. Without knowing that I was chasing him, he seemed to be recycling the garbage and then headed to another building. I didn't want to believe this, but it didn't take long to find out the truth. He stopped at the building where the mom who talked about my husband during the day lived. The new groom is working hard, throwing away all the trash. The security guard was so kind to him. The new groom? He has been married for more than 4 years. I couldn't take it anymore, so I called my child's friend's mother, and with the help of the friend's mother, I went to the house where my husband entered. I hid under the stairs and waited for the door to open. And when the door finally opened, a sweet husband and a young woman came out just like newlyweds. At that moment, I was like a lightning bolt. I beat him up with Hapkido skills. My husband didn't stop me from smacking him, and he got stuck on the floor. The woman was scared and screamed. That's why people gathered. Then the woman figured all out and tried to run away. I grabbed her hair and threw her next to him. Where do you think you're going? You broke up someone's family. And didn't you think you should pay the price when you set up a house with a married man? At least, you guys need to be beaten up until my anger is relieved. That is what manner is. You're keeping 2 families at the same apartment complex? Your daughter's friend lived right next door. You call yourself a father? The world is going crazy, but at least you can't bring her to my boundary. Are you a dog on heat? Do you want to do this here, where your daughters come and go? What a piece of crap! I raised my hand to slap my husband's face, and then he freaked out and started begging on the floor. Honey, help me. It's my fault. Please don't hit me, please. I'll die if you punch me. Hey, hurry up and kneel and say sorry. My wife is a Hapkido master. You'll be literally dead if she hits you. My husband, who had trained with me, was terrified in front of my fist. When she saw him like that, she knelt and begged. Then people in the neighborhood laughed. That's when the door of their house opened, and then a familiar face came out. Mother? Unbelievable! My mother-in-law was there. My mother-in-law saw my husband and women were on their knees on the floor and begging me. She freaked out, and then she jumped in and pulled her up. Oh, my grandchild! I thought I heard something wrong, but I heard it right. Baby, are you hurt? Why are you sitting on the floor? What if my grandchild goes wrong? It turned out he cheated on me and got the girl pregnant. He told his mom that the baby was a boy, and the in-laws set up another house near my house. She was staring at me as if she would kill me. You never had a boy. If my grandson goes wrong in any way, you would have to pay for it. I'm not going to let you and your son go either. Honestly, your son is a troublemaker. Ruined my life and my daughter's as well. I'll never forgive you. The same goes for you. You made me do all the things. You made me prepare all your family birthdays, memorial services, and holidays. You said your daughter is precious, and you mistreated my daughters and me. And then you went behind my back this whole time? Let's go all the way to the end. I'm not getting divorced. The baby can't be on the family register. I won't let you have it. He will be called an illegitimate child forever. Oh, I should get some compensation from that adulterer. And don't contact me at all. And you You don't have to come home but send me living and education expenses. If you don't, I'll go to your company and turn it upside down. The baby is coming out soon, and it's not a good idea to get kicked out of the company, so don't think of anything else. Oh, it's going to be hard to raise the kid here. Our daughter's friends' mothers are all over here. I'm quite sure that they never forgive a husband who cheats on his wife and a woman who crushes other people's families. You should feel it. You'll regret this for the rest of your life. I came back home. My legs trembled, and I couldn't stop crying all the way home. It wasn't because I have feelings for my husband. It was the opposite. I spent most of my time sacrificing for the peace of my family despite all the hard times, and it was so unfair. Nevertheless, I wasn't happy for a single moment, and I felt sorry for my daughters. So, I thought about it that night. I had zero trust in my husband, and besides, word spread throughout the neighborhood, and even the victims, me and my kids, seemed to be having a hard time getting back to our life. After all, I don't know if I'm going to live a hellish life to avenge them, or we're at a crossroads where we're all going to start over, and my decision was the latter. After a while, I brought my daughters down to my parents' house. My parents were so surprised. They supported my decision. The kids love my parents' house. My husband and mother-in-law have been calling me every day to ask for a divorce. I was going to do it, but seeing them fretting like this, I wanted to give them a hard time. Has it been about 3 months? I signed the divorce papers. I got an apartment in his name and custody of the children. Of course, I get child support every month. It was about a woman giving birth, so my husband and mother-in-law gave me everything. My mother-in-law wanted to put her grandchild on the family register, so I asked her to offer everything that I needed. One day, about a year later, I got a call from my daughter's friend's mom. After saying hello, she told me about my ex-husband. He lived in that house for another year after the divorce and then moved out because the woman left the baby and disappeared. He asked to sign the marriage certificate, but she must have delayed it. And then she delivered the baby, and surprisingly, the baby was a girl, unlike what the woman said before. It was a girl, not a boy. One day, less than 37 days after birth, she left the house with the baby. My ex-mother-in-law, who wanted a grandson so much, ended up raising her granddaughter from the secret mistress who left. When I heard that, it felt like something that had been pressing my chest had gone away. It was like you reap what you sow. What my husband and mother-in-law did ended up messing up their lives. And after a while, he said he regretted the past and said that he wanted to reunite with me and take care of our children's future. I turned it down at once. Then he threatened to cut child support. So I threatened to go to his company, spread the word about everything that's happened, and file a seizure on your payroll account. He must have been frightened by that. He hasn't heard from me since. I had started going to the gym again. It's all thanks to my mother's babysitting. I'm working as a teacher and having a good time with my 3 daughters. I still hate my ex-husband so much, but having 3 lovely daughters, I'm so thankful. Soon, the twin sisters will enter elementary school. There were a lot of difficult times. I'm proud of my daughters, who grew up well without a dad. Thank you for listening to my story so far. I hope you all take care of your health. In the comment section for the story, please cheer us up and give me warm advice. Like and subscribe give me a lot of strength. I hope you have a great day today.